I am Professor Dreadmore, and my journey through the world of the occult has led me to stories that I can't escape. Today's tale is one of those, shared with me by a man named Alex Thompson when I visited New York City. Let us begin. My name is Alex Thompson, and I've always prided myself on being a realist. As a journalist in the city, my job is to uncover stories grounded in hard facts and evidence, steering clear of the supernatural tales that floated about like urban myths. But when my editor assigned me a feature on local urban legends, I thought it'd be a good laugh. I aimed to debunk them, showing them for what they truly were, just stories. That is, until I stumbled across the legend of the choking ivy. It had all started at Smith Manor, an old estate at the edge of town. The story went that the ivy growing there wasn't your ordinary garden variety. It was said to move, to suffocate, and to even whisper secrets to those who dared to venture too close. It was just the kind of nonsense I was looking to debunk, so, with a skeptic's smirk, I grabbed my camera and notebook and set off to investigate. The manor loomed ahead, blanketed in its namesake foliage. The ivy was breathtaking in its own eerie way, thick, lush, and too vibrant for a plant that rarely saw sunlight. I couldn't help but feel a ripple of unease wash over me as I approached. As I walked closer, I watched the ivy sway subtly in the breeze, its leaves rustling against each other. It was then I heard it, a faint whisper, like the soft rustle of fabric. I paused, listening, but the wind had stilled. I shrugged it off, telling myself it was just the wind playing tricks. As the clouds shifted, painting the manor in grim shadows, I decided it was time to head back. Yet, the whispers seemed to follow me, echoing in the corners of my mind as dusk settled in. My chest tightened with a sense of foreboding I hadn't felt in years. Ridiculous, I muttered to myself, focusing on the cool breeze rather than my racing heart. As I drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling that the ivy's whispers weren't just an oddity, but a warning. Back at home, the city lights flickered to life, their glow a familiar comfort. I took a deep breath, promising myself tomorrow would bring clarity. After all, legends were born from fantasy, shaped by the human psyche needing stories to explain the unexplained. But as I sat in my quiet apartment, the whispers lingered, a haunting prelude to a mystery I was only beginning to unravel. Inside the dusty halls of Smith Manor, the ivy crept along corridors and lent an ominous vibrancy to its fading grandeur. Long tendrils stretched up the walls, wrapping themselves around ornate carvings and antique woodwork. As shadows lengthened under the dim light filtering through cracked windows, the ivy whispered secrets to the silence. There was something mesmerizing about the way the plant's tendrils seemed to inch across the surface, dancing with each breath of wind passing through broken panes. The manor, a labyrinth of time-worn chambers, echoed past tales of luxury now surrendered to nature's quiet reclamation. Legends spoke of its haunted corridors and restless spirits. But the true enigma was the dense living curtain of ivy, casting deliberate shadows over the architecture, a dance between light and obscure, hinting at the mysteries lurking within the emerald embrace. As twilight fell, the ivy's shadows deepened, insinuating an eerie movement against the ancient stone. It was as if the manor itself exhaled slowly, drawing the creeping foliage closer into the embrace of night's ancient presence. I barely slept that night. My dreams were vivid and unsettling. In them, I was wrapped in thick, creeping vines, each tendril tightening around my chest, squeezing the air from my lungs. I woke up gasping, heart pounding in the dark. It felt all too real. I chalked it up to exhaustion, and maybe a little too much imagination. But even in the daylight, the remnants of those dreams clung to me. I started jotting down everything I experienced, the dreams, the whispers, the shifting shadows, like an observer recording someone else's descent into madness. The whispers weren't just in the manor now. They were everywhere. a soft, constant murmur just at the edge of hearing, like a radio left on low volume, impossible to tune out. Determined to root out the truth, I returned to Smith Manor, the whispers rising in pitch as I crossed the threshold. This time, daylight offered no comfort. Every room seemed alive, the walls whispering secrets of residents long gone. I searched the dusty study, tearing through old journals and papers until one leather-bound diary caught my eye. It belonged to the last resident, a melancholic artist obsessed with his climbing plants. His words were frantic, desperate, describing the ivy like an old companion with a hunger for something more than sunlight and rain. The final entries spoke of a ritual to control it, but the ink was smudged, as though the writer had been interrupted, the secret lost in time. As I strained to read, the whispers around me grew louder, swirling through the room in a frenzied crescendo. I looked around. Every vine in the room seemed to tremble, closing in. I hurried out, chased by shadows and echoes. I stumbled back to familiar streets, clutching the diary like a talisman against insanity. The pieces fell into place slowly. The ivy fed on fear, thriving on it. The artist's ritual wasn't merely control, it was survival. The persistent whispers pierced deeper now, taunting my grasp of reality. They spoke my doubts, my fears, amplifying insecurities buried and forgotten. That night, the whispers were with me again, a lullaby of disquiet as I drifted into another restless sleep. I realized then that in order to stop the whispers, stop the dreams, I had to figure out what the artist couldn't. But time was running out. Every whisper gnawed at the edges of my sanity, and the vines were closing in. My resolve hardened with the sunrise. This had to end. The whispers were nearly deafening, a constant torrent, in a language I could almost understand, and the sleep was slipping away from me. Armed with basic supplies, matches, salt, and whatever courage I could muster, I headed back to the manor. It was quiet this time, a deceptive calm, as I pushed open the creaking door. Inside, the air was thick with tension. The ivy seemed to pulse with life, an omnipresent creep curling around the corners. Its whispers beckoned me to leave, to abandon my foolish quest. But I couldn't stop. I wouldn't. I found myself in the manor's dim living room, surrounded by ivy that almost seemed to quiver with anticipation. Remembering the diary's sketches, I scattered salt in a ritualistic circle and struck a match. The fire flared to life, casting shadows that danced wildly on the walls. The whispers rose to a cacophony of screams, the ivy reaching towards him, tightening around his limbs and throat. The air was electric with fear and defiance, each whisper a poisonous barb, aimed to break my resolve. As the flames licked higher, the ivy's movements slowed, its grasp loosening. I repeated my own mantra, words of hope and strength, letting them wash over the rising tide of despair. The fire burned bright, consuming the negativity, leaving ash and silence in its wake. As the dawn broke through the manor's grime-covered windows, the ivy lay still, charred remains scattered around me. The whispers had fallen silent, no longer lingering like an unseen presence. I stumbled out into the light, every breath a testament to freedom rediscovered. The diary and its secrets remained, but so did my story. In the days that followed, the old manor became a focal point once again. News of the ivy's sudden withering spread, sparking whispers of its own, of haunted halls and spirits vanquished. But I knew the truth. My spirit had tangled with the ivy's, my resolve the blade that cut through its ethereal thorns. Even now, as the city buzzes and life carries on, I can't fully escape the memory. The whispers taught me something intangible, rooted in beliefs and fears. Though the ivy is gone and the manor stands empty, echoes linger in the crevices of my mind. Perhaps the whispers were never truly defeated, only silenced, slumbering beneath the concrete of urban legend. But for now, they're quiet, and that's enough. Now that we've reached the end of Alex Thompson's story, I'd love to know your thoughts. My journey into the unknown is never ending, so subscribe if you're ready for more tomorrow. And please, like the video to keep these tales coming.